Americans are feeling the pain on day 33 of the government shutdown as SNAP benefits sit in legal limbo. Millions of federal workers go without a paycheck. Families prepare to lose access to Head Start, and air traffic controller shortages lead to flight delays. And the Trump administration is warning it could get worse.
I think the real consequence is what kind of rolling delays do you have throughout the system, right? We've seen problems at LA, in Dallas, in D.C., Boston, Atlanta. And so I think it's only going to get worse.
Joining me now, Democratic Congressman from California, Jimmy Gomez. He sits on the House Ways and Means Committee, and we welcome you back to the broadcast, sir. So a lot of pain in America today, and Senator Ted Cruz predicts the shutdown will end Wednesday or Thursday. Do you see it happening by midweek?
Well, first, I do think that the American people are suffering a lot of that pain right now. But that's on top of the fact that Donald Trump's economy is really sluggish and only has, I would say, minuscule job growth. And people are actually being laid off, and they see their prices increase. So that's why we were fighting so hard as Democrats to make sure that the ACA subsidies are extended, because that's going to be unbearable. Most people are not going to be able to afford that, and they're going to lose their health care. Now you have the expiration of the SNAP benefits and the Trump administration refusing to use that $6 billion. So all that pressure is, I believe, starting to lead to a point where hopefully the Senate negotiates a deal. And here's the thing, they can only reach a deal is that they say, okay, Donald Trump, you might be the president, but you're not the head of the Senate and you're not the head of the House. And we're going to cut a deal that makes sense for not only for the American people as a whole, but for our individual states and our individual districts. If they don't do that, this thing can drag on for weeks more. So I think they need to think about their districts and their states and not Donald Trump.
But so you don't think Donald Trump's the one who can come in and wrap this thing up, be the deal maker that he likes to be?
Donald Trump, he could if he wanted to, because the Republicans in the Senate and in the House just bend the knee and acquiesce everything in their power to Donald Trump. So he could do that. But since he's not, it's up to the members of the House and the Senate to cut a deal, to act as legislators, to compromise and to negotiate and to come up with something that pushes the ball forward. But as long as they're just abiding by Donald Trump's keep the government shut down, create as much economic pain as possible for the American people so Democrats capitulate, as long as that's their negotiating tactics, this thing might never end. So we need leaders to emerge and to actually cut a deal. That's what being a legislator is about. They got elected on their own. They should start acting up like it and not just bend the knee to Donald Trump every time he calls or asks for something.
Look, I don't have to tell you that Republicans have shown little interest in doing anything that Donald Trump doesn't tell them to do thus far. But that said, you have the biggest federal worker union, which is broken with Democrats and is calling for an end to the shutdown, putting its support now behind the Republican funding bill. Yeah, you still have some labor unions on your side, but what do you say to the workers who want to be able to afford health care, but they just can't go without a paycheck any longer?
You know, I was actually a political rep for the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, a public sector union. And I understand what they deal with, the fact that they put in long hours, they work hard, try to raise a family, and they need that paycheck. And I also understand that AFG has been decimated by the fact that Donald Trump has been bullying them, cutting the funding for a lot of their departments, and then gave them a fork in the road offer. Either resign and take early retirement, or you're going to be fired. 250,000 to 300,000 have been let go. So I recognize that there is pain, but they at the same time, I also recognize a lot of public sector unions know that Donald Trump and the Republicans have been hostile to the work that they have done year in and year out for not just this past year, but for decades. So Democrats are fighting for them just as much as we're fighting for people throughout the country. And we're saying, keep fighting, keep making your voice heard, but also they don't believe the fact that Donald Trump is for them. The facts speak otherwise. He tried to cut SNAP by in the big billionaire bill by $200 billion. He's cutting SNAP. Refuses to use the $6 billion in emergency funding, and then cancels 92 million pounds of food that was supposed to go to food banks in the spring. This guy is not somebody who cares for working people. He sees them as a bargaining chip and as leverage in order to get his way in Congress and through the federal government.
And yet, The Washington Post poll out today finds nearly 7 in 10 Americans who say the Democratic Party is out of touch with most Americans. You got more than 6 in 10 saying the same of Trump and Republicans. Will Democrats be credited for standing on principle, or could they lose support because they are partly to blame for what people have experienced over the past 33 difficult days?
I think what Democrats need to do is continue to fight for the working man and woman on the street, that in this economy has been rigged for the billionaires and the largest corporations. We need to talk about affordability, the fact that average American pay 30% of their income towards rent or housing. Another 26% pay their income towards childcare. And then now the fact that the healthcare subsidies are ending and it's going to spike the healthcare costs. Well, that's what we're fighting against. We want to make sure that this place, the United States, is still a country where the next generation can do better than the last. And and as long as we talk about affordability, taking on the establishment, taking on the billionaires, we're going to be able to win these fights. But you know what? In the end, it's about improving the life of people on the ground every single day and every single week. Not just talking about it, not just putting up pieces of legislation, actually delivering. And that's how we're going to win back the minds and the hearts of the American people.
So as the president embarks on these remodeling projects in the East Wing and the White House Lincoln bathroom amid this shutdown, the House Ways and Means is demanding more information about DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's purchase of 2 luxury private jets, which the committee says will cost taxpayers nearly $200 million. Can they make the case these are government necessities? And why does this feel so jarring?
Well, I think it's in the contrast to the fact that the American people are struggling in Donald Trump's economy. The fact that he keeps passing tariff after tariff after tariff, raising the prices on Americans on everyday goods, from coffee to car seats to baby shoes, you name it, everything is going up. And then they want to spend that $200 million on 2 planes that nobody believes is necessary, plus the extra $20 billion and another $20 billion. So a total of $40 billion for Argentina to bail them out, but he does nothing for the American farmer. And then he spends another $300 million on a ballroom and destroys the East Wing that has been historic. That's what people find insulting, is the fact that the Americans are struggling, but he doesn't give a damn. And he then holds a great Gatsby party at Mar-a-Lago during Halloween, just adding insult to injury. So this is an administration that is out of touch just as much as Marie Antoinette was out of touch when she said, "Let them eat cake."
All right. California Congressman Jimmy Gomez, thank you so much.